Good morning, students, and a warm welcome to you. Students, our school is a co-ed school. That is, here boys and girls study together. But have you ever thought of how children lived about 200 years ago? Yes, 200 years ago, things were different. Nowadays, girls and boys enjoy equal rights. That is, we find girls going to school, they complete their higher education and take up jobs. They get married only after they are adults. That is, they have to be minimum 18 years of age. Plus, they are legally free to get married to a person whom they like. Further, widows are allowed to remarry. Plus, all women, like all men, can vote and stand for elections. Of course, these rights are not actually enjoyed by all. Poor people have little or no access to education, and in many families, women cannot choose their husbands. Now, let us have a closer look at the lifestyle of women 100 years ago. Here, things were different. Most children were married off at an early age. Both Hindu and Muslim men could marry more than one wife. In some parts of the country, widows were praised if they chose death by burning themselves on the funeral pyre of their husbands. This particular practice was called sati, meaning virtuous women. Women did not have right to property. That is, her father's property was only given to her brothers. Right to education was denied for women. It was believed that if a woman was educated, she would become a widow. This was the difference between men and women in a society. Further, in most regions, people were divided into caste system. Brahmins and Kshatriyas considered themselves as upper castes. Others, such as traders and moneylenders, were placed after them. Then came peasants and artisans, such as weavers and potters. Below them, there were people who labored to keep cities and villages clean. They were called untouchables. These untouchables were not allowed to move freely into the society. They were restricted from entering temples, draw water from the wells used by the upper caste, or bathe themselves in ponds which were used by the upper caste. Students, now let's pause for a little while and imagine how you would have felt if same type of treatment was given to you now. Yes, it makes us feel miserable. We feel like reacting or revolting against it. Hold on. Same thing happened with some of the greatest personalities in our country too. Now, let us learn about them and their valuable contribution towards the upliftment of our ancient society. Here we have Rajaram Mohan Roy, a reformer who felt that there is a need to change our ancient superstitious society and thus founded the Brahmo Samaj. He persuaded people to give up old practices and adopt a new way of life. He was keen to spread the knowledge of Western education in the country and bring about greater freedom and equality for women. He is also well known for his valuable contribution towards the eradication of the practice of sati. In the year 1829, under the Governor General Lord William Bentinck. Since Ram Mohan Roy was well versed in Sanskrit, Persian and several other Indian and European languages, he tried to show to the people that practice of widow burning had no sanction in the ancient text. His thoughts were supported by the British officials too. This also became easy and possible only because of new forms of communication. That is, for the first time, books, newspapers, magazines, leaflets and pamphlets were printed, through which Ram Mohan Roy were able to write and express his thoughts. In the same way, we have another reformer, that is Ishwara Chandra Vidyasagar, who used the ancient text to suggest that widows could remarry. His suggestion was adopted by British officials and a law was passed in 1856 permitting widow remarriage. Those who were against the remarriage of widows opposed Vidyasagar and even boycotted him. In Telugu-speaking areas of the Madras Presidency, Virasalingam Pantulu formed an association for widow remarriage. At the same time, young intellectuals and reformers in Bombay pledged themselves to working for the same cause, that is, widow remarriage. In the north, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who founded the Reform Association called Arya Samaj, also supported widow remarriage. Yet, the number of widows who actually remarried remained low. Those who married were not easily accepted in society and conservative groups continued to oppose the new law. Students, I am sure you must have noticed that though so many great personalities in the past worked very hard for the upliftment of women, this good change was not easily accepted by the society. Well, this was regarding married women. Now let us learn something about girls. As I have said earlier, girls were not allowed to go to school, but still many of the reformers felt that education for girls was necessary in order to improve the condition of women. Thus, Vidyasagar in Calcutta and many other reformers in Bombay set up schools for girls. In the mid-19th century, many people were afraid of these schools. They feared that schools would take girls away from home. Girls will stop doing their domestic work. Plus, girls had to travel through public places in order to reach school. In ancient times, it was believed that girls should stay away from public places. Therefore, throughout the 19th century, most educated women were taught at home by liberal fathers or husbands. Sometimes women taught themselves too. In the later part of the century, schools for girls were established by the Arya Samaj in Punjab and Jyotirao Phule in Maharashtra. In aristocratic Muslim households in North India, women learned to read the Quran in Arabic. They were taught by women who came to teach. Some reformers, such as Mumtaz Ali, reinterpreted verses from the Quran to argue for women's education. All this was done to encourage women to read about religion and domestic management in a language they could understand.